Welcome to Horror Movies and Beyond, a show about reviewing horror movies for the living to understand the dead. And I'm your host, Ivotres Littles, and today I have a really awesome special guest, Carroll Brown, who wrote, directed, and produced sci-fi film Control. Thank you for joining me today.
Oh, thank you for having me. Excited to be here.
Oh, thanks. So how you been? How's everything going?
It's good. It's busy, and just like everybody, it's weird. These last couple of years have just have been strange, but we seem to be coming out of that. But it's definitely, well, I think back to Control, and Control is about isolation and being stuck in one place, and I hope that I didn't have something to do with that becoming some sort of prophecy. So,
man, anything could be a prophecy. It sure can. But yeah, so you sent me this because I put out there, hey, anybody got a short film? Let's talk about it. Let's get it out there. Because I wanted to praise short films, because a lot of great things start with short films. And I've watched some that were like blew my hair back. Like I was just, wow, where are these people? And they never made another one because, it's expensive. Some of these are expensive. I think the short films, as far as like how the scale is, are more expensive than the feature. That's how I see it sometimes.
Yeah, in many ways, it certainly is a challenge. I've produced a number of short films. I've written a number of short films, and then I've directed this one, and have a couple more in the pipeline. But they are surprisingly expensive to make, especially if you're trying to do it right, as it were, quote unquote. So like Control. I paid the crew. And sometimes you don't have that luxury. And it was a Screen Actors Guild certified work, which means I paid the actors, and I paid into the union, all the things that you have to do there, and followed all the rules associated with that. And that makes it even more expensive. It's the right way to go if you can do it. And I was pleased to be able to do it on Control. But then I talked to other people who make wonderful short films like you. I adore short films. And I've seen people make really, really phenomenal short films. And I go and talk to them, and I say, gosh, as a filmmaker, I'm interested in the details of how you did that, and how much did it cost you? And they'll say, oh, we made that for $2,000. How on earth did you do that for $2,000? And a big chunk of it is, don't do it in Los Angeles, because it's expensive out here. And then you call in favors, and you get mom to make batches of lasagna to feed the crew and things like that. So there's everybody achieves the dream in the way that's accessible to them, and that's the fun thing about short films, in my opinion, is they are works of passion. They are made by people who want to make movies. And the reality is, most of us don't have $30 million or $150 million sitting around to make a movie. So this is what we do. And that passion is so evident in short films. I find them really, really exciting.
Yeah. I tried to do a short film. I always say try. I actually did when I was in college, and I would never do that again. No, that's another story. But yeah, so here we have one you written, direct, and produce.
Yep.
Control. And it reminded me of Gravity. I think it was the isolation and trying to figure it out, what to do next. Is this real, or is it in the mind? And I also think it has some kind of psychology to that too. Can you make yourself go crazy in such short amount of time? But we don't know exactly how long. Well, at least I don't see how long she was there.
Yeah, left that intentionally
Yeah.
ambiguous because, again, in a short film, we had about 12, 13 minutes to tell the story. And
Mhm.
and some people who've seen it came back and said, gosh, she seemed to go insane if that's really what happened. And as you said, there's some ambiguity that's really what happened.
Mhm.
Um, but, that seemed to happen really, really fast. It's like, well, except that we don't exactly say how much time has passed. The implication is maybe it's not been a lot of time, but there's also other factors involved there. And again, if you had more time, you could sort of draw it out and imply the passage of time and things like that. But again,
Mhm.
short film, you got 12 minutes to get up, sing your song, and get off the stage.
Pretty much. So it's about a scientist that trapped by herself on an outpost near Jupiter, which is pretty cool. And it was like, that's so specific, Jupiter. After the death of her companion, she begins to imagine or realize that she is not alone after all. And it's one of those short films make you think like, is she crazy or is something really there? Because then you see a shadow. But we'll get into that. What I want to get into, the visuals of this is outstanding. I don't know how much this short film cost, but man, it looked like, James Cameron put some money in there.
Oh,
Could be
well,
next
thank
to
you.
Titanic, because I've never seen something so precise and so pristine and beautiful. I mean, just the set, from seeing
Thank
her
you.
coming in, to her wearing the suit, to you seeing outside, to you seeing the bag laying on the ground. It was very bright because space stations are usually bright.
Yeah.
And even though it was such a bright atmosphere, it was still dark elements in there. And that reminded me from Let the Right One In. I don't know if you ever seen that,
Oh
where
yeah,
that movie was
brilliant.
very bright.
Yep.
Like, because it was snowy, because the first one took place, I think it was Sweden.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah. So when I was watching that one, it was like, this is kind of brightly feel, but it was dark elements. And I think that's pretty tricky.
That was very intentional. My cinematographer, Keith Jeffries, and I, when we sat down to really think about the look of the film, we talked about set, and we talked about how do we achieve, how do we set it on a station, on a moon base of some sort. And there's standing sets that exist, and they kind of look like Alien, and they're generally dark, and that kind of said, well, what I really want is I don't want there to be that degree of ambiguity. Is whatever is happening here happening in the shadows? Is there something lurking there that we're not seeing? I wanted it to be, like you said, very bright, very stark, very clean, because that's the nature of a real scientific outpost like that. But then it doesn't give any place for something to hide in the shadows.
Mm-hmm.
And so it adds to that level of psychological ambiguity of, is there something really happening here, or is it in her mind? And we know that whatever it is, if it's there, you're going to see it at some point, potentially. But
yeah.
and then as you said, when we decided that was the look that we wanted, and Keith did a fantastic job shooting this. We went out and on a soundstage, we built a 360-degree set. The crew did a phenomenal job of putting that together in a really scary short amount of time. Literally walked on set the first day, not sure if it was going to actually be a set or not, because we had some production issues that led to delays, and frankly, they built that over a weekend. The production crew built that over a weekend, and it was absolutely incredible. And
it looked incredible.
Yeah, so we had this really kind of evocative, sparse, bright set with hopefully just the right elements and just the right emphases where they needed to be. That door that we had specially built, and the view out the window that we had specially constructed, that was all done as what's called a translate. We didn't do green screen. It was actually essentially a giant photograph outside the window there, and that way we could move around and the camera would be able to capture that sense of movement. You don't get into what's called parallax. You know, kind of this offset of movement. As she moved around the window, the view outside changed, and that's because this translight extended beyond the ends of the set so that she could move around and the view outside would move with her as she looked outside.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah, that's where really good crew and really smart creative people come in, and I just, as the producer in this case with my producer hat on, just say, you guys go do all the stuff you're really good at. That's the importance of surrounding yourself with really good people.
Oh, and it definitely shows. So the actress,
Oh boy, isn't she good?
she played what, her name is Jamie, right? Is it Jamie?
Jamie Page. Yep.
Okay, Jamie Page. She played Elizabeth in this. She was by herself for what, you know, on screen.
Yep.
And you felt every emotion from when she was like dealing with her friend or comrade who passed away, and then she was like accepting, like you see the stages of grief. That's what I was getting. Yep. And you know, the Absolutely. Denial or an accepting her fate, and then, you know, whatever was in there trying to get her. but yeah, she was phenomenal.
Yeah, I was so fortunate to get her. I actually wrote the part for her. I had worked with her on a previous short film, actually the first short film that my producing partner Jonathan Levitt and I had done, and he knew her through a mutual friend, and she had sent in an audition tape for that. On that one I wasn't directing, I just wrote it and produced it, and her audition tape, which was her reading my words, made me cry. And so I thought, okay, if she's reading back something that I wrote and it's making me cry, I know there's something here. And she was phenomenal in that movie. And so when I started thinking about this movie, and I knew that I wanted it to be very much about a woman in isolation, alone, and the sense of isolation and paranoia that would create, I immediately reached out to Jamie and said, "Are you available? Tell me you're available." And she was, and she came in and just did an absolutely phenomenal job. I was very, very pleased that in a number of the festivals that we showed that she picked up a number of Best Actress awards, and I could not be more pleased on her behalf, because I thought it was extremely well deserved.
It was. She was so great. And then the voice control, C. Thomas Howell. And I was looking at him before I even looked at who he was. I was like, God, I've seen him. Mm-hmm. I've seen him around, and I looked him up. I was like, oh, okay. Wow, this guy has some great work. How did that happen? That's
where you know people. And like I said, my producing partner Jonathan Levitt had worked with Tommy in the past, and called him up and said, hey, we've got this part. It's just voice. You'd be able to knock it out really quick. It's not a big time commitment. Is that something that you'd be interested in doing? And he read the script and he said, I love it. I can see what I would do with this. And literally we got together in a recording booth for, I don't know, maybe half hour, 45 minutes. And he's got this wonderful resonant voice. And, this is C. Thomas Howell. This is Pony Boy. This is, all of the Hitcher, everything, everything in this phenomenal career that he's had. I'm talking about his old movies, because those are the ones probably that many people recognize the most. But he's had this incredible career ever since he was very, very young. I think his first role was in E.T. He was one of the friends of the older brother who rides their bikes there at the end.
That's right. Okay.
So he's had a career since he was a child, and phenomenal actor. But he's developed, as he's gotten older, this wonderful resonant voice, and he immediately sort of saw the transition that this character takes over the course of the film, that and so he worked out, how he went from this fairly, kind of this fairly benign, sort of traditional mission control voice to this slow change into something else, and his voice changing really, really subtly. It's one of those things where you just think, holy moly, this is why he's C. Thomas Howell, is these really subtle changes that he started to lay in over the course of the story, as we start to realize that maybe whoever this is isn't who we thought it was at the beginning.
But I'll die.
Put on your suit and open the door.
There's something out there.
Is there? You weren't afraid to put Mark out there.
He's dead.
Is he?
So yeah, really just enormously fortunate to have gotten him on board and to have had his talent contribute to the film.
Yeah, that voice, like, you knew instantly when it changed. Like, it was going, and then when she was like kept talking to the screen, like, something is here, I'm not sure, and then open the door. You're like, wait, what? Like, even I was like, open the door? Like, who won't just open the door? Yeah. I was like, wait a minute. And then, and then it was like, is she crazy? Because I remember it takes 2 hours for a transmission to get to mission control.
Right.
And back. Or is it 63 minutes?
They're in back. 2 hours there and back. It's about 60 minutes or 60 minutes back.
And so I was like, no, that doesn't seem right. And then she was like 600 million miles. I was like, this girl what's she doing out there? Like, come on now. And then to get help, it will take 2 months and 11 days. I would have been terrified. There's no way I would have went anyway. Not even for my job.
Yeah. It's that was the foundation of the story that I wanted to play with, was this sense of isolation. It actually came about through a very real story. A woman named Dr. Jerry Nielsen, who was a member of an Antarctic expedition at one of the bases at the U.S. base down there. And in the middle of Antarctic winter, she was diagnosed with breast cancer, but they couldn't get her out. They couldn't get her out for some months, because during the middle of the Antarctic winter, they just can't get in and out of there. And she wasn't alone the way that Elizabeth is in Control, but she actually had to operate on herself. And then she had to be there for a number of months waiting for the weather to clear so that they could come and evacuate her. And I just thought, I was absolutely fascinated by that story, and by the sense of isolation and fear that she must have been experiencing, even as a professional. She's a scientist, but that doesn't mean that you're not a human being. And then I thought, okay, so what can I do with that? What can I play with that? Do we put it on a space station above Earth? And because I knew I wanted it to be science fiction. And then I thought, well, let's really amp it up. Let's make it so that she can't even have a normal conversation with somebody. And that ultimately then became the basis for the whole story, which is, as you said, that there's a 2-hour time delay round trip for her talking back to Mission Control because of the distance. And as the story progresses and you start to realize, and she starts to realize, wait a minute, all of a sudden I'm talking to him in real time. That's not right. There's something going on here. And what is it? Is it me going insane, or is it something else? And so that's, kind of just playing off just enough reality to, to base the story off of.
Well, it's not clear what it is, but I could say, okay, I think she wasn't crazy. I think there was something out there, but there was a part I thought, I've never seen it like this that you did. So when she was sitting in front of the control, there's two things. Let's talk about that. One, I like how visually you're the audience looking at her through the screen. Because when I was watching that, everything was backwards. When I was reading, I was like, well, why would we I thought it was my I thought it was a mistake. Like, did I do, like, I was trying to figure it out. And then I was like, no, that has to be intentional. Maybe I didn't flip something as I was trying to watch it. But no, then I was like, okay, we're looking at her. We are seeing her. We're control or something like that.
Yep.
We're the audience. Because then when she was talking and we could see the screen, when she was looking at it, it's the right away.
Right.
And I was like, okay, this is intentional. I thought that was clever. I haven't seen anything like that before. And another thing was, okay, at this moment, we hear a knock at the door and all this stuff is going on. She's sitting in front of the screen and you can hear something coming. And as Control is talking to her, it's getting louder and louder and louder. And whatever it is should be standing behind her, but it's bright. And they keep telling her, turn around. And I was like, I don't see nothing. Like, I don't see anything. And it should be there. And it was telling her, turn around, and just being like this evil voice, but still nice. It was strange. But then you see this darkness off to the side coming. That's when she looks and screams and it just shuts off.
Yeah.
That was so intense, but yet it took you away. It took your focus away. I mean, from what could happen. Like, it would come from this way. Like, you would not think.
Yeah. You know, it's interesting. I'll give away some filmmaker secrets. So that was partly intentional, and it was partly the reality of low budget filmmaking. So we had talked about a couple of different ways of creating that final image, where again there's an ambiguity of, is there something physically in the space with her? And the way we shot the film, like I said, we actually built a 360-degree set. So there's one shot where we actually rotate the camera all the way around, and you see that, you know, that she's in an actual enclosed set. But for the most part, what we did was, if we were shooting, you know, this direction, we'd fly out these walls from the set, and that's where the camera would be. And then when we needed to shoot from this direction, we'd put those walls back and fly out these walls and shoot from that direction. And that took a lot of effort. It was very time consuming. So we shot everything from this direction that we were going to shoot from this direction, and we shot everything from this direction, etc. And so we were shooting from a particular direction, and we said, well, let's go ahead and see what this looks like with the thing happening, the shadow happening from this particular direction, and how it plays. And it played okay, but it wasn't really my original vision. The original vision was that all of this stuff is happening behind her, like you said, but you're not seeing anything behind her. And then she turns and looks, and she turns and she looks and she looks up, and then that's when all that happens. But we didn't get that shot. We didn't get that shot, and I still think that it's the shot I would have preferred. Because I think it would have played into exactly what you were just talking about better, but we ran out of time, and we had to be out of the sound stage. I had to let my crew go, or I was going to have to pay him for another day, and that would have been a bunch more money, and I was out of money. And so it's like, okay, the joys of low budget filmmaking. You have the movie you shot, not the movie you wanted to shoot. So I think it still works, but it definitely sort of changes the nature of it, the nature of those final moments a little bit.
See, now that you say that, I'm thinking, okay, I get what you're saying. But then again, I think that would have been more obvious. Like, you've seen that before. Like, you know, they're looking around and all of a sudden, you know, but this one, because we're looking at her and she's looking at us, and we're not seeing anything. So it makes you think, is she crazy? Because whatever was walking up should be standing right there.
Yep.
You know, I'm like, girl, move out of the way. Like, I'm trying to see. Yeah. But for it to come at this angle, and makes you wonder, because she was so focused on Control and the screen, it was where it would come unexpected in a direction she would
Okay.
not think.
Well, good. I'm
Or
glad that worked for you.
or it was on the ceiling and walking.
Right.
And then, it reminded
Yeah.
me of Aliens, where they're using those machines and they're in
Yeah.
that room after Bert took
Yeah.
off and left him in there, and it was like, are you sure they should be right in the room? It's like, I'm right here, man, they should be right here. Like, and then they both look up, and then that's when it's right there. You're not thinking they would be that smart. It gave that feeling, so it was fine.
Okay, good. It worked. I'm glad, because that's always bothered me a little bit. Just it seemed to resonate. It seemed to play well. People reacted well to it, but it's one of those things where it's like, I wonder what it would have looked like the other way.
Well, I mean, it's your work, and people, we are our worst critic. I mean, we do the same thing. Like, oh, if I tweak that a little bit, and it's out there, but you're like, oh,
yeah,
And
I will tell you this: there is definitely DNA from, no pun intended, DNA from The Thing in Control, especially in the feature version. So I have written the feature version and working toward, hopefully, trying to get that toward production. And so that definitely has elements of The Thing in there, elements of Moon, of Alien, certainly, bits and pieces of all of those things in there. So,
ooh, I hope.
You and me both.
Because I could see that it's different.
It picks up from the end of the short. It picks up when that crew, 2.5 months later, the relief crew shows up.
Oh.
And what's and Elizabeth's not there. And so sort of,
what that remind me of? A comic book, number 1, called The Thing, and some people come in after John Carpenter's one. There is even a video game, The Thing, that I've played that is extremely hard, and it's the crew that comes in and you trying to figure out what happened. So I would love to see that as a feature. Not that, but your version of what happens to her, because that sounds like scary.
I'm really, really happy with how it turned out, and I'm really excited about trying to see if we can get a feature off the ground. Obviously it takes a lot more money, and I'm working on a number of avenues to try to get it made. But the script itself, I was really happy with how it turned out. It ended up winning a bunch of awards, so hoping to leverage all of that here in the coming. It was tough to do anything in the last couple of years, so everything's sort of been on hold. It's just so hard to shoot anything.
So was this shot during the pandemic?
No, this was shot before. This was shot before COVID.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, because I was like, this would have been perfect around that time, because she was so isolated anyway.
Yeah, it actually would have worked pretty well in that regard, because it was a small crew and it was one actor, and you didn't have to worry too much
so
about.
You were already there before.
Exactly. I was just ahead of the curve.
But yes, this was fantastic, especially seeing a woman isolated, seeing different emotions and trying to take control, and smart, and in the higher range of a career space. That's always great. There's always so many elements that are missing, and I think you got them in there.
Wonderful.
And I would love to see this after the fact feature. I mean, I would be there. I'm like, oh, I can't wait, because you don't know. Don't know, and it feels like you need another story. Like you could do without it, but we already know, because at the end, Control is coming. So you already know they're coming. It's not like they're not coming. They are, and the body's still out there. Come on, or is it? I was
going to say, and some stuff happens with the body
maybe,
absolutely.
It's like,
all the pieces are there.
Like, you can make this actually pretty scary. Like a sci-fi, scary, horror, psychological. I mean, you could use all the elements in subgenre for that, and I hope it will. It will. We always have to
Yeah,
say
let's
we think
manifest that. It will. It will.
yeah, and I can't wait. I want to say thank you for this. I mean, thank you for this short film. I mean, it was just different. There's ideas out there.
There's so much talent.
People
out
are
there.
afraid to spend money. Yes, but how do you think film started? Spending money and making mistakes.
Yep.
I mean,
Absolutely. And like you said, I mean, I go to a lot of film festivals, and mostly I go for the short programs because they're, like I said at the top, there's so much passion that goes into them. Those are projects that come from the heart. They you know, nobody's giving you money to make a short film. You're figuring out how to make it. You're spending your own money. You're doing whatever you need to do. You're scrounging for equipment. You're shooting guerrilla style and hoping that that you don't get busted. All of that stuff, because you have this story that you want to tell, and you have these visions in your head that you want to get out there. And there's so much talent out there. And I just sit there in the dark in awe of these films that I see, these short films that are fun or scary or, you know, truly deeply moving, or some combination of all of the above. That's the joy of movies, right? That's what it's all about.
yes, and I really do hope this goes somewhere. I really do. It will. I know it will. So, but once again, thank you so much. And if you guys like videos like this, please like, subscribe, leave a comment, and follow this guy, Carrol. I mean, especially with your background, like I could see the writing was so good.
Oh, thank you.
And yeah. But once again, thank you so much. And until next time, you guys, make sure you follow this guy, look at his stuff. I will put all his handles and everything, and a link. The link is active, right? They can see this. Okay.
Yeah. The film is
Control.
available out on it's on Dust, which is a science fiction channel on YouTube. Yep.
Okay. And I'll definitely put the link below. So
wonderful.
Thank you so much, and
Thank
bye.
you.